Everybody can see my screen, okay? Okay, great. So thank you so much for joining again. Today we are going to talk about the registration area setup and table layout quickly, and then we will mostly focus on the volunteer duties as well as the registration captain duties. If you are a registration captain, you are not going to handle the registration process. However, you will do the training, and then you should be able to answer the questions from all the registration volunteers. So it will be very important for you to know this process as well. So first, we are going to talk about the registration area setup. The area setup depends on your event size, because there are a whole bunch of different, there are different sizes of events, like from small, medium to large, and your area setup will depend on the availability in the park, and where you can have a section available to have the registration volunteers available. So we recommend that at the registration area, you have a table and chairs. This is for your registration volunteers. And then if you have enough volunteers, we recommend that you have greeters at the entrance and also like close to the registration area, so you can they can direct people to the registration and also ask them if they did their check-in or if they fill out a pledge form. So if you don't have enough volunteers to have greeters, we recommend that you have some signage from the entrance to registration area. Also, we say that you need to have a secured layout, because this area you will be counting money at the front, like participants will be submitting money, and also the registration captain will then count everything and prepare the RBC deposit box. So this needs to be a secure area. If you are expecting more people to join, we always suggest that you have separate lines for online and top pledge earners, which means like if the participant is not going to submit check or cash donation, then you can just direct them to a separate line, which is like online participant line, and then if they are eligible for a prize, they can just get their prize. Otherwise, they may not even need to do check-in. In terms of check-in, I cannot say that if the person is not submitting offline donation, they don't need to go to the check-in area, because it all depends on your walk. It will be your Gutsy walk chair and your staff partner who will decide on that. Because in some locations, we know that food tickets are given, or like there is a welcome package you would like to give to your participants. So it's totally up to your chair and your staff partner to decide if you want people who are not submitting offline donations to come to the registration area. And then on the table, we suggest that you have pens and envelopes and all the forms that we will send available. Also, you are going to have swags here as well. You need to allocate a wider space for the registration area, so it's not too close to others like food or info booths, so to avoid congestion. And you can have the swags here, like the t-shirts and the top pledge earner and team captain gifts. And we always recommend to have runners. Runners are the ones who will replace the registration volunteers if they need to take bio break, or if they need a break, or they can just give water. And also you will need someone to take the envelopes to the registration captain, so the captain can start counting. So moving to the table setup. As I mentioned, like we recommend having the supplies on the table, and we will go through that in a bit. This is an old picture, but these are not the envelopes we sent anymore. The forms are printed on the envelopes, and we are going to send envelopes in the registration shipments. This is what you use for offline donations only. And then we always say that the registration volunteers should work in pairs. One person will be money counter and the other person will be info checker. Whenever handling money, the volunteers always have to work in pairs. And this is the box that I was talking about. The runner will be taking to the registration captain. So when registration volunteers receive offline donations, they put the money inside the envelope, and this envelope should go inside the banker box. And during the registration time, this box can go to the registration captain and the captain can start counting. And you can have the money counting for the registration captain. You can have like an area set up at the back, like it needs to be a secure area. Or some locations have a separate tent for that. And then you can also have the prizes like at the back. And if possible, we always recommend to have some chairs available for participants who are waiting in line. So then if the line is taking long, they don't have to wait like standing. And as I mentioned, we always say that it's better to have top pledge earner or online only line. I mean, if you have a bigger event, you can have top pledge earner, offline donation, and online only, like 3 separate lines, or you can just choose to have top pledge earner line. This will also make them feel more special if you have a separate line for top pledge earners or separate tent. And in this area, you can just have the top pledge earner gifts available. And also, the line will move faster if they have a separate line. And for shipments, you are going to receive 2 separate shipments from us. One of them will include the t-shirt, top pledge earner gifts, which is sunglasses and case. I'm not sure if you received the May newsletter. We shared the picture in that newsletter. And then volunteer pennies, volunteer lanyards, and name tags and tag holders. The other shipments will include all the documents you will need: RBC deposit bags and slips, per-lader bags and waybill, also tattoos, the masks, and some locations will receive Go Here postcards, and we will also send HelloFresh coupons. We are also going to include rain ponchos to some of the shipments. That's just like in case you have a rainy weather, you can give that to participants for free. Like that's totally up to you, or you can use it as a special price. We are just gonna include that as something extra. And as I mentioned, you need to have some pre-bundled stationery available on the table for your registration volunteers. So required supplies will be instructions, pledge forms, pens, yellow highlighter, calculator, scrap paper, and some suggested supplies will be coin roller, whiteout, paper clips. These will not be sent by us except the instructions and pledge forms. So some of you would have that from the previous year's events, or if you need to purchase it, please make sure to keep the receipt, and then you can submit the expense and get reimbursed for it. And one thing that we will need you to print, like we will try to print as many forms as possible, so you don't need to spend so much on printing. But one thing you will need to print will be the participant reports. Participant reports are pulled on a Friday before the event, and we cannot send them earlier because it has to have the latest information. So that report will be sent to you like by Friday evening. And then you can get that printed on a weekend. But we suggest that you go to a printing place to get it printed, so you can actually expense this and get reimbursed. And the flow chart is when participant comes, they go to the registration volunteers, they do their check-in, And then the registration volunteers would check the information and count the money. And then when everything is done, like all the offline money is received, this will go to the registration captain and the counting team. And they double check the money and prepares the forms and counts the inventory, which is the remaining prize inventory, like the swags. And then some tips will be when you are deciding on the number of registration volunteers, consider how many people you are expecting to have at your event, how many people may bring offline money. You can see that from your location page as well, like you will see the offline amount, or based on like previous years. And you can also ask your staff partner what they expect, and based on that you can decide on number of registration volunteers, like the pairs you will have. And also it's important like the experience they have, because if you have experienced volunteers, then the line will move quicker, because they will be quicker at checking everything. And for the RBC deposit, we will include the RBC authorization letter inside your registration shipments. Registration captains will need to pick up the deposit key from the local RBC branch. It's because you will make the deposit on a Sunday. So because the bank is not going to be open, you will need to use a deposit box. We were told from like some people that some RBC branches don't give the deposit key when you show the authorization letter. So just in case, bring a deposit slip with you, which will also be included in your registration package. So when you go to pick up the key, you can show the authorization letter and the deposit slip, and then they should give you the key for the deposit box. And then please make sure to provide your staff with the details of the local RBC branch where you will deposit the money, because we will record that information. Also, registration captains will be preparing and depositing money, like as I mentioned. And for security reasons, you should not leave the money unattended. And when you are handling money, you should always have another person with you. And having a co-pilot is highly recommended. Now we are moving to registration volunteer duties, and Amara will talk about the duties.
Hello. So I'm going to talk about the registration duties, and these are for the volunteers that are at the front desk that will be having 2 roles in pairs, and you're either a money checker or an info checker. So you're going to be, as I said, you're going to be working in pairs. That's how to best do it. And you're going to have all your materials that we talked about, your pens, your papers, all of that material that you're going to need when you're checking people in. And here you see when people come up to you, that you're the first people they're going to see. So you want to welcome them and thank them for supporting the Gutsy Walk and welcome them to the event. And if you have any TPEs coming to you, we suggest maybe having a registration tent specific for the TPEs, especially if you're a larger walk and you're going to have longer lines. And if you have people who are going to provide offline money versus people who won't, you might want to have those as separate lines too, to keep things going and ensure that there's no crowding. And here, as Naval mentioned, we will provide you with a list Friday evening. This will be the most updated participant list as of that evening. So keep in mind that there might be people who will come to you and say they've registered and they've raised some money, and they might not be in your list, so don't panic. They might have raised it online in between that time. We suggest you ask them, oh, can you show us on your phone? And then you'll be able to see that. And if they're not on that list and they show that they have raised that money and they've registered, you can write their name on the back of the paper with their name and their email so that we know that they did attend. And here on this sheet, you'll see their first name, their last name. You're able to see how much they've raised online, how much they've raised offline, and you'll have these columns where you can see what they are eligible for in terms of our pricing. So you'll see if they qualify as a TPE, they've raised $1,000. If they qualify for the t-shirt, their t-shirt size, and if their t-shirt was sent to them. and if they are eligible for a team captain gift. As well, you'll see that column there, received shirt on event day, and we'll get to that as well. And sorry, I forgot to mention here that if you've raised that $100 prior to May 21st, that is the cutoff date that they would have received their t-shirt before. So after that, there's a chance that they hadn't received their shirt, and likely they may come and ask for their shirt. We will only have a select amount of shirts at each walk site and in select sizes. So if we don't have it and you've run out, you're able to mark that down, and we will mail their shirt to them after, so you can assure that we will follow up and provide them with their shirt. So next, when you have participants coming up to you and they have offline money, they're either going to have this pledge form filled out and ready for you, or they're going to have the money and you're going to have them fill this pledge form out for you. I recommend that if the lines are long, you might want to have greeters who have these pledge forms on a clipboard, and you can kind of streamline the process and have them filled out. So by the time they get to you, they're ready to go. And you'll see here on the pledge form, you want to make sure that they've clearly written their information. So you have the participant name, their email, their address, the walk location, if they're on a team, the team captain. And if they, you can help them fill it out if they have any questions, and as long as the information is clear for us. And so if they're handing in any offline money, this will be either checks, cash, or they're providing a credit card number, and we will process that after. So you'll see the three options there. If they have provided a credit card number, we want to make sure that you guys highlight that. So this will be the money checker. This will be the money checker and the info checker as they look through it. They want to highlight this credit card number so that we don't miss that when we process these transactions. This is important that they've written their address very clearly for our tax receipting processes. And these are only for offline money. So if they say they've raised some money online, there's no need for them to fill out any of these forms.
Also, anything unpaid should be removed from the form.
And this is this part will be on the first page of the pledge form. So I forgot to mention, the first part of the pledge form is the participant information, and the second page is where you put the donor information. So you might have some participants who've raised lots of offline money, and they'll have one of the first page and several of the donation page. That's fine, as long as they have that first participant page with the accurate information. That'll all go together. On this page, you'll see that they have completed the waiver if they haven't already registered online. So the pledge form is them registering, and you'll have them initial as well on the bottom of the pledge form. And here you'll see that there's the option for them to pay off the money that they're handing in. So if we have the option, I would ask them, hey, would you like to pay the unpaid money off? If they say yes, that's great. You can have them fill out your credit card information here, have that as well highlighted. And in that box there where it says participant to complete, that's where you're going to have the total money. So you're going to have the total amount of cash that they handed in, the total amount of checks, and the total amount of credit card that will then need to be processed with the grand total. Here's an important list that I would say make sure anyone working at registration has either read before. I would suggest having them glance over this so they understand who is eligible for what and what the prizes are this year. So if a participant has raised $100 or more, they're eligible for the t-shirt. And like I said, this will be mailed out prior to May 21st if they've raised that money prior to that date. If not, they might be able to receive a t-shirt depending on how many inventory we have for each walk. And if the participant has raised more than $1,000, they classify as a TPE. So they're eligible to receive a pair of sunglasses, which come with a case. This is our TPE gift. And these will be handed out on event day. So these will be all stocked. This will be at the back where you'll have someone come in and be able to give that to you as a runner. And the second gift that you'll be handing out on event day is the team captain gift. And this is eligible for any team captain that has raised $200 or more, collectively with a minimum of 2 team members, and this does include the team captain. and they're able to receive this keychain that we had this year. And for everyone, every participant, they will receive a tattoo and the coupons that we provide.
And sorry, I'd just like to add, we are in the registration shipments, we are going to have a one-pager, which will have some important information like the prize eligibility or like donation deadline. It's a one-pager, and we recommend you have that like on the table. So if anyone has any questions, you can show them that. And even if you have those like plastic frames, maybe you can use that to have that available for everyone to see. And also in terms of everyone, like volunteer duties like info checker versus money checker, we are going to send the instructions for them as well, so they can have each instruction in front of them. Moving to
So on here, you'll see that column that said if they received their shirt on event day, and if they hadn't received their shirt prior to that May 21st fundraising deadline, then they're eligible to receive their shirt on event day. If you do hand out their shirt to them, please ensure you mark this on this shirt and with the shirt size that was given. It's sometimes not always the same size as they indicated as on the list. And this just gives a good idea for us for who's received their shirts, so we don't mail them a duplicate shirt. And this will be where we keep track of the inventory. So if there's any additional, if there's any additional people who wanted their shirt and didn't receive it and there wasn't enough, please make sure you write their full name on this list. So it'll include which gift we need to send to them and how much they've raised and their mailing address. So here we'll have the participant offline donation verification form. This is the form that Naval mentioned is now printed on the envelope. This is what you'll have stacks of with each pair. So when the person comes to give you the offline money, this is where the pledge form and the offline money will go into. And he'll be able to tally up, the money checker will tally up these numbers. You'll have the participant name, the team name, and here this will only be for event day money that was handed in or the credit card total. This doesn't include any money that they've raised online. And there's 3 important signatures we need to have here. First is the participant initial and the volunteer initials. And these are the info checker or the money checker. One of them needs to initial this form. And when the registration captain then verifies these amounts later, they will also need to initial the form as well.
And just to add to that, as I mentioned, we made some changes on certain forms. So these 2 forms are like one of those things that we changed. The event day incentive form that used to be called event day incentive not received form, but now this year we put instructions here which tells the registration volunteers how to fill it out properly. So it's like matching when we receive this. Also, it just tells the eligibility. And for the participants offline donation verification form, we changed the name of this form as well, because this envelope is only used for offline donations. So we don't need to get an envelope for people who are not submitting offline donations. So it's not a way to see like how many people are coming to the walk. It's just for us to record the offline money. That's why we removed also online amount section from the form and the coins to make it less confusing.
We also have a question here that is, where would we include the changes if we get them?
The coins, you can just include it to the cash total, so we will know that there's an extra coin received, but we have a section for one like loonies and toonies. But if you receive like smaller coins, you can just write it somewhere on the form, or just like when you write the cash total, you can just put a small note beside it.
So once you have these envelopes done, it's important that you make sure the pledge form, the cash and checks are all inside of there. And you've had, like I said, the initials on it, and you place it in the box. It's really important that you don't seal this envelope, because the registration captain will then be verifying these numbers. So they will have to take out the contacts, review them, and put them back in. Once you have done this, you will put this in the banker box. You'll have one for each pair. And these banker boxes will keep them close with you, and you'll have either runners or registration captains coming to take the envelopes out of your box and keep them so they're not filling up. So registration captains, as I mentioned, will come and collect these boxes with envelopes. It's recommended that the registration captain comes to refill these boxes more than once, just to keep the flow going and to ensure that there's no backbone on counting, keep things efficient. It's really, really important as well to make sure that the money is not unintended. So I recommend having at least 2 people in the back counting the money together and ensuring that it's not left alone.
Thank you, Amara. We have a question. There is a form printed on the envelope, and inside the envelope, the money will go, as well as an additional form. Yes, that's the pledge form, because whenever we receive an offline donation, it always should come with a pledge form. That's how we will know where the money will be recorded for, like the participant name, and also that's how we will know the donor information, so we can issue the tax receipt. So every time like a participant brings an offline donation, we need to ask them, like, do you have your pledge form? If they don't, you will receive extra pledge forms in the registration shipments. So registration volunteers should have the pledge forms available on the table. So if the person is not submitting a pledge form, they can just fill it out there, and then it can go inside the envelope together with the money. And the other thing, actually, sure, no problem, Shanta. And the other thing is, this may sound a little bit complicated. I don't want to, we also put this on the instructions as well, but as you know, like participants have the option to log like offline donations through their participant center. So sometimes you will have people coming to the registration table and say that like they don't have a pledge form and they entered everything to their participant center. If that happens, registration volunteers can just say, okay, if you enter the donor information in your participant center as well, that's fine. You don't need to fill out a pledge form. But for us, when we do the reconciliation, it will be great for us to know that. So if the registration volunteer can just write a quick note on the pledge form, like this information is available on the participant center, something like that, and put it inside the envelope, that will be really helpful for us. Because if we are not receiving like when we receive the money, if we don't have a pledge form and just like an empty envelope, it will be hard for us to reconcile. But if we know that the information is already available in the participant center, then we will be able to go and pull the information from there. In that case, registration volunteers don't need to ask the participant to fill it out again. So before we move to captain duties, are there any other questions? Okay.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
It's Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
I had to take a picture off because my computer was doing silly things. So basically we have the list of online donors, and they're in a line that expects to be expedited quite quickly because they've done it online.
Yes.
So we just have to check them off on the list if they have no further monies and no need for a t-shirt or any other items, and they can proceed to the block. Or are you saying you want a registration form filled out for them?
Great question. So That, as I mentioned at the beginning, that depends on your Gutsy Walk chair or your staff partner. You will make the decision with them, because some walks, they say we want everyone to come to the registration table, even though they are not going to receive any prize and they only raise money online. They still want them to go to the registration table, so the participants or attendee can get their food tickets or welcome package. If you ask me to avoid lines, I will say if the person is not submitting an online money and if they, sorry, offline money, and if they receive their prize already, there is no reason for them to go to the registration table.
No, that's not what I meant. I realize it's important to tick them off on the list and have them come to registration and say, hello, I'm here, along with 4 of my family.
Yes.
And we can mark that down on our master list for the online donations.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't like to wait. And what I asked you is, there's no need for us to fill out a separate registration form for them if they are on the online master list, correct? And
that's right. You don't need to fill out anything. The only thing is, this is a separate conversation. We have something called check-in self-screening form. So one day before the event, we are going to send a message to registered people and ask them to fill out a screening and check-in form. So that's a way of knowing how many people are coming to the event. And also it's some sort of check-in. So that person is like confirming that they are coming to the event. So that's the check-in that they are gonna do. If you want to mark the person on your report that we will send, the participant report, yes, you can just put a check mark beside it. Or if their name is not on the list, you can just quickly write on the back of the participant report, but you do not need to fill out anything if they are not submitting offline money.
So we've gotten people to donate, and you're going to send them an email the day before to confirm that they're coming to the walk, just physically.
Yes. I am not sure if you remember from last year. Last year also we sent a text message one day before as well as an email. And we also have a QR code, like signage with a QR code at the event. And we will have little form available for people who don't want to scan the QR code using their phone. So that has multiple purpose. It will be a check-in. So they are saying like, I am coming with the whole household. We are like 5 people. So they are indicating that, giving their name, and also they confirm that they don't have any COVID-like symptoms, as well as they are accepting our waiver. Like if there is any injury or any issue, we are not responsible. So this form has multiple purposes, but we will send that 1 day before the event by email and by text message. So that's check-in.
So the dialogue that the new volunteers have at registration, who haven't met these people before, but they are not to ask them if they have any COVID symptoms this year. We do not mention that at all.
No, you don't. You just need to.
That's fine.
Yeah. You can just say like, oh, have you received your check-in form or have you filled out your check-in form? But they didn't even need to say that, because at the event when people go, they should see the QR code with the signage, which asks them to fill it out. And also we will send it to registered participants before the event anyways, by text and email. So registration volunteers don't need to ask anything about COVID symptoms.
I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, but I'm not familiar with how to use the QR code. Is that being sent to them by text?
So there will be multiple ways. It will be in an email going right before the event, 1 day before the event. So the participant can go to the link through the email. They will receive a text message. They can do it through text message. For people who did not register and coming to the event, they can just scan the QR code. And last option, we will include some forms, like just written forms very quickly, first and last name, how many people are in your household that like you are coming to the event, like as how many people, like a group. So they don't need to fill it out for every single person. And they just say like, I don't have any symptoms and I understand Crohn's and colitis Canada is not responsible for any injury or any issues that happens at work, something like that, a quick waiver. Because some people, they just attend the event, but they are not actually registered participants. So it's also for us to have them sign the waiver. So you will have that form available in the registration shipment. So registration volunteers should have those forms available on the table.
Okay, I still don't know how they're going to do that, but we'll work it out. Thanks very much.
Okay.
We
So
have another question as well. Do you find that majority of people fill out the online check-in form or the QR code, or do you feel that we need to physically check them in?
we receive so many forms from people through email and text message. Text message works very well. I don't remember receiving so many through the QR code, to be honest, but I do remember like receiving some of those physical, like paper forms, people filling out the paper form, because some people may just say like, I don't want to scan the QR code, or I don't like, some phones don't even scan QR code. Like I used to have that old phone. So if it doesn't work for them, then they can just fill out the paper form. But mainly they do it through text message or the email. So you don't really physically check them in. You just like if your registration volunteers can just quickly say, if you haven't already filled out the quick self-screening, you can just fill out this form available here, and then they can just like have the forms available on the table. Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm moving to captain duties. So as registration captains, you will be the leader who is the main contact for troubleshooting at the registration table. So you need to be available for any questions or anything like registration volunteers need help with. And also if participants have any questions that they cannot answer. And they are also responsible for preparing the monies for the deposit. And they will fill out the final form to give us the final event date number. And also they should not leave the money unattended. And we always recommend them to work with a co-pilot. So once the registration closes, registration captain will collect all the participant reports and the boxes with envelopes containing the pledge forms, monies received from volunteer station. And also sometimes participants bring their donation history page. We don't ask for it, but when they want to show how much they raised, they may print that. This has confidential information, so registration captains should collect these as well, and then they can send these back to us and we can shred them. And any other confidential documents, like even like check stubs or things like that. And we always ask the registration captain like to start the counting process like before registration ends, in like if there are more money coming, because last year we didn't receive that much offline donations. So depending on like how many people are coming to the registration table to submit offline money, registration captain can decide when to start this process. Amara already mentioned this form. So when the registration captain starts the counting process, they will look at the participant's offline donation verification form and then remove the money from the form, like the cash, from the envelope, the cash and checks. because they need to verify the amount, but they don't need to look at the information on the pledge form because that was already checked by the registration volunteer info checker. What registration captain needs to do is like count the money inside the envelope and then confirms that the amount written here is matching with what is received. If it says credit card, it does not mean online donation. Credit card means if the participant wrote the credit card number for us to process. So this credit card total, like when you look at the pledge form, if you see a credit card total, then you can just look at the pledge form to see if there is actually a credit card provided. So in that case, you can enter that amount too. And then you just put the breakdown here and the total amount. I mean, it's already here. And then when you confirm, you just put your initial. So it means everything is fine. And when you are actually counting the money, then you will separate them by denomination, because then you will log this on the deposit slip by denomination. And this is another form we change. We used to have participant tally, which had every single participant name and how much offline donation they submitted. And we also had event day summary, tally summary. So we combine these two. So when you check the offline donations, this is not how many participants actually came to the table or anything. This is like how many participants submitted offline donations, cash, check, credit card. So then what you are doing is like entering the participant name from the verification envelope. You enter that name, not the donor name, the participant name, how much they submit, and the total. So once you fill out everything here, then you are going to write the offline donation total. The online donation total, you can look at the participants report that we sent, but I recommend you go to your location page on your mobile, because that will have the latest information. From the time that we pull the report, it changes a lot until the event day, like almost your event is over. So you can get that online donation total from your location page. And the other dollar received will be like if you did any like auction, raffle, barbecue, any other event, like any other thing that you did on the event day and you raise money, you enter it here. And outstanding total, I recommend that you use that only if you are expecting like a big amount. Like for example, you are expecting a matching gift from one company, it's like $2,000 and you want it to be reflected. But if you see anything like this participant said, I'm going to receive $20 later, you don't need to enter those kind of things. It's just like enter the amounts that you know coming and you want it to be reflected to the total. And then you will share this total with the MC, and then they can announce it at the end of the event, like during closing ceremony, so everyone will know how much your location raised. And you will need to sign this as well as the witness. And then this form needs to be sent to us within 3 to 4 hours post-event, because that's how we will know how much each location raised, and we can start calculating the event day totals for everyone. So once the monies are verified, you separate the cash, coin, and checks into groups by denomination. That's for filling out the deposit slip. It will make it easier for you. And then, as I mentioned, you will need to sign this as well as a witness. So in terms of completing the RBC deposit slip, as you can see, you will just fill out the denomination and how many of each denomination you have, and then you will enter the total. For the checks, you just enter the total check amount. So you don't need to enter them separately, you enter the total amount. So if you have so many checks, you will need to calculate, like you will need to use your calculator to have your check total. So you can enter this on your deposit slip separately. And you don't enter the credit card information on the deposit slip because that will be processed by us at the Toronto office. So it's not going to be processed by the bank. So you don't need to put anything about the credit card here.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I can see having the checks. I think the checks and the credit card should be two separate lines, because the checks you have physical hard copy checks in your hand. And mind you, we can balance them. I grant you that and put that total in. But at least if you had two separate lines, it would confirm the fact that that's the amount that you have to submit through their credit card after the fact. Do you understand the question?
No, not
Two
really.
lines. I think there should be two lines there. One for checks, which we have in our hand, and one for the credit cards, which would give you a clear amount that has to be submitted by the office. That's my suggestion.
Are you referring to the deposit slip or here?
I'm referring to the deposit slip that you just had up.
Deposit slip will not have the credit card amount, because you are only depositing the cash and check to RBC. The credit card, you are only entering it here. When you fill out the event day tally, that's where you are entering the credit card totals. And this will come to us and we are going to process it in the office. So you don't enter the credit card total on the deposit slip.
I'm sorry, I thought it said Visa and check for the total.
I think it's an old deposit slip picture, but it's not Visa. You are only submitting check and cash. So it's like you're not submitting any credit card payment to the bank.
Okay.
Oh yeah, credit cards are not going on this. Thank you. Okay. And when you complete everything, we will need to receive the picture of this. So then we will know how much amount was raised. And then again, as I mentioned, you can share this with the MC so they can announce the event day totals. So before we had the inventory together on the event day tally summary, but now we separated it, and the event day incentive not received form we show earlier. It's where you record if someone is like missing a t-shirt or top pledge earner gift. That form is two-sided. So on the back of that form, you can enter the remaining inventory, which will be like event day t-shirt, top pledge earner gift, and the top team captain gift. It only says like small, medium, large, and extra large because we can only send limited, we can only send certain sizes. Because mainly we are sending the t-shirts by mail to participants. And if they don't receive it on the event day, then we will just send it to them afterwards. So when you are done with the money counting part, you can just like fill in the remaining inventory quantities and then enter it here. And please don't ship the remaining t-shirts and gift items back to us. Your staff partner will give you directions in terms of what to do with the remaining items. And when you prepare the RBC deposit slip, you will put the cash and checks together with the 2 copies of the bank deposit slip inside the envelope, inside the deposit bag. And then you will keep one of the bank slip to send to us. That will go inside the Purelator bag. So when you tear off the strip to seal the bag, please don't throw out the strips. You will send this back to us when you prepare the Purelator bag. And you will do the deposit the same day, and it will be the branch that you provide us the information for. You can use the key to open the deposit box, and then you can make the deposit, and you return the key like the next day or whenever you can go to the bank. After you can give the key back to the teller. And we always, again, say that don't always have someone with you when you are carrying the cash or handling the cash. So now we can move to post-vogue. So this is if you receive any donations after you prepare the RBC deposit bag and then you already seal it. So what to do about that, and also the items you need to send back to us. Within 48 hours post-event, you will need to send us the following items: the participant envelopes, the forms that you filled out, the online reports, the deposit slip, and any unused like RBC deposit slips. We are going to send you pre-later bags together with the waybills with return address. So you can just like drop the pre-later bag to the pre-later depot. Please try to send it within 48 hours post-event. We understand that if you get busy, you don't have time and it may take longer, but sooner we receive this information, sooner we will start entering the information to our system. So part donors will get their tax receipt earlier, and then we can also start preparing our reports quicker. If for any reasons you are not able to send it within 48 hours, please let us know so we know that it's going to come later. And you can fill in the pre-later slip with your return mailing address, and then you drop off the bag to your local depot, and you please email us the tracking number once you send the package. And for the money processing, like once you make the deposit, we always need a Form A. Whenever a deposit is made, you fill out a Form A. This is for finance department to know which account this money is for. We are going to share the Form A instructions as well, like step-by-step instructions on how to fill out the Form A. But for event day money, the difference is that you don't need to enter everything line by line when you fill out the Form A. You just need to enter the cash total and then the check total. And this is the money you are submitting to, like you are depositing to RBC. You will enter the deposit number, like deposit slip number and the date. This will then be sent to us, to our finance department, which I'm going to share the email address in a second. If you, sorry. As I mentioned, you don't need to itemize this with each participant information. And for offline pledges, you always use the account code 482. But if you also raise money, like through barbecue or anything else, for that, you are going to use a different code, which will also be included in the Form A instructions. If you receive any donation after you prepare your RBC deposit, you will need to go through the same process as like checking the pledge form and all that. If someone brings you donation after the event, you will need to ask them for a pledge form. And if they didn't fill it out, you will need to ask them to fill it out and then make sure you have all the information. And if it's credit card, highlight the credit card information. And the deposit slip, filling it out is the same process. And for the Form A, you will need to itemize this one. If you receive, let's say, 3 different donations post-event, this time you will need to itemize them because that will be a separate Form A and separate deposit. And then all the Form As you fill out, you need to send it to this email address, and please copy your staff partner. And here you can see the different account codes that you can use for offline pledges, like 482 and 486 are the ones that you will mostly use. 486 is for other money, barbecue, auction, etc. And 482 is for the pledges. And finally, some important reminders. Fundraising will be open until June 30th. And Vogue t-shirts will be for participants raising $100 and up over. And it will be one price per participants. Team captain gifts are only for captains of teams that raise $200 and over, collectively with a minimum of 2 team members. Sorry, 2 members, including the captain. And this will all be written on the one-pager, like important reminder document as well. So you can have that available for everyone. Outstanding pledges, please do not include them on the pledge form. Online pledges, please make sure they are not included to the pledge form. And for tax receipt, we always require a full mailing address to be able to issue the tax receipt. And the tax receipts are issued for donations $15 and over. If you have someone who requires a tax receipt for a donation that's under $15, you will need to write it on the pledge form, or that you can ask them to email us and request a tax receipt, because it's a separate process and it needs to be issued like once the event is over.
Can you go back 2 pages and tell me that email?
This page?
Back one more. One more, please. Sorry. Yeah, that one. So it's just Form -A.
Sorry, this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Form -A.
Form A, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we will have that in the instructions as well, the email address.
Yeah, just my notes. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Before I move to the last reminders, I'm just going to remind about the t-shirt situation, because there was a question about how to handle with participants who don't receive their prize, and if we don't have any prize available. So the t-shirts are for registered participants who raise $100 and over. But sometimes you will have people coming and saying like, I raised the money for the whole family. We raised like $5,000. So can we get like t-shirts for the whole family, but they are not registered. In that kind of situations, because you have limited number of t-shirts, I recommend that you tell them to come back after the event, because you have to use the t-shirts for people who are actually raising the money like individually. And after the registration over and you still have t-shirts available, then you can just give them the t-shirts. Also use your own discretion. So like you can just decide who to give the t-shirt to, but please prioritize people who actually raise the $100 individually. And also, if you see that someone's t-shirt sent like on May 21st and they didn't receive it, then probably it's a delayed Canada Post. I recommend to tell them like, okay, it's gonna come probably in a week or so. But if they insist, you can give them a t-shirt. And worst comes to worst, if you don't have any other prize left and they want the prize, you fill out the form, the event day incentive form, and then we can just mail it after the event once we receive the forms.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question about that, because I found from other years too that it always gets confusing, because sometimes the donor, if a donor comes and donates $100, then they feel that they're entitled to the t-shirt. But as a donor, are they?
Great question, and I forgot to talk about that. Yes. Okay. If you are donating to me and I'm a participant, then no, you are not eligible to receive a t-shirt because I am already getting the t-shirt as a participant for the amount that I raise. But
Right.
if the person, which happened to me actually, like when I was at the registration table, the person said, I'm making a donation, $100, can I get a t-shirt? I say, t-shirts are for participants. What we can do is like, we just fill out the pledge form. So then I recorded him as a participant and I gave him a t-shirt because he's making the donation to himself, so he becomes a participant. But if the person is the donor, but we already gave the t-shirt to the participants, then no, they are not eligible for a t-shirt.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, participant is already receiving the prize for the donation that donor made.
Right. And that's why, like, my understanding was that the donor never gets the t-shirt,
No.
because that's sort of illegal then. He's getting a donation slip for that, from the government, and he's not allowed to collect a gift as well for that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So like, it's only like if they are making a general donation, but they want the t-shirt, you can ask them to fill out a pledge form and they will become a participant and they will be eligible to receive the t-shirt.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for the question. We are a little bit over time, but I only have one more slide. So some more reminders. Please try to predetermine your registration volunteers and don't wait until the event day to decide on who will be your registration volunteer, because you want to do the training before the event as well as on the event day. So as a refresher. And please communicate with your volunteers that they need to arrive on time to receive a quick training on the event day. Do a run through with your registration volunteers so they understand the process. Pair, if you have experienced volunteers, pair inexperienced volunteers with the trained experienced ones. And also, again, if you are spending money on printing, buying stationery, hand sanitizer, anything, please make sure to keep the receipt and then talk to your staff partner on how to submit the expense so you can get your money back. And some other tips will be, when you do your printing, instead of printing it at home, you can go to a printing place so you can get a receipt and get reimbursed for it. And also, like on the registration day, when you see that the registration line becomes too long, you can have your greeters or some other volunteers going to the people in the line and ask, like, have you filled out your pledge form? Are you submitting the offline donation? And while they are waiting in the line, they can actually show their pledge form and the volunteer can start checking if they know the process already. So that may help the line go faster. But hopefully you are not going to have very long lines, because last year we saw that not many people are submitting offline money anymore. It's mostly online. But this is just a little tip if you see that you have so many people waiting. So do you have any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So I have the registration volunteers in the front, paired up in twos.
Mm-hmm.
And we give each of them a copy of the list that has been submitted to us electronically as of Friday, so that they can check off if they were an online volunteer. I'm sorry, if they gave an online donation. And so they have that list, and each of these set of volunteers, a couple of them, all have that list. So it's not really an invasion of privacy, is it?
No, but you have to send those reports back to us. You have to make sure to send them back to us so you don't keep the confidential information.
Right, but you can understand my visual concern here, because they're going through names and lists, and it shows how much money they've donated.
Yes, but
And it's right under it's right in front of them. So hopefully we will keep it under wraps so that anybody else doesn't really get a good look at it, right?
exactly, volunteers need, the registration volunteers, they have to be careful when they are handling confidential documents. Like they shouldn't just leave them unattended or hanging around. Like they should keep them and then give it to registration captain. Volunteers already fill out all the necessary documents and waivers to become volunteers. So there is no concern around them seeing the confidential information, but they should be careful when they handle those reports. Like they shouldn't just leave it there and then just like don't give it back to you or anything. Because it's an important point. Yes, it has confidential information and it needs to go back to registration captain and then come to us after.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Any other questions? No? Okay, sorry, we went a little bit over time, but I hope you found it helpful. We will have the recording available on the Volunteer Hub, and then there will be one final training next Thursday as well. If you want to invite any of the volunteers that you think they will find it helpful, because we recommend that this training is not only for registration captains, but anyone who will be handling registration. It's important for them to know the process. So please tell them that there will be another training next week, and also the recording will be available. And then the presentation and the video, they will be available in the Volunteer Hub. That's correct.
Will we be getting a PDF or something emailed to us with all of this information that you've just gone through this evening?
The PDF version of this presentation will be uploaded to Volunteer Hub as well as the recording. Also, we have instructions for both registration volunteers and registration captains. Those instructions will also be uploaded to the Volunteer Hub, and they will be included in the registration shipments, the physical copy.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, then I hope you all have a great evening or great night, and thank you so much for everything you do, and I hope you all have a great Gutsy Walk day.
You too. What is your name?
Neval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.